Intoxicants and prior cardiovascular disease. 8 minutes and 46 seconds is how long they knelt on George Floyd's neck. 8 minutes and 46 seconds. And the reason that protests happened all over the country about it isn't because the media wanted us to protest. The media called us rioters. Do you know who owns the media? It's the reason we knew about it wasn't because of the media. It was because of Darnella Frazier, who recorded it. She's a 17-year-old who recorded it for 8 minutes and 46 seconds as George Floyd's neck was knelt on, depriving him of oxygen. The reason we protested wasn't because the media wanted us to. It wasn't even necessarily because what happened was messed up. It matters that it was messed up. They're training officers all over the country to kneel on our necks for 8 minutes and 46 seconds after we're already subdued and screaming, "I can't breathe." This doesn't just happen to white people. You know that, right? Because if you're a troll and you think that you're helping by villainizing black people or by acting like the protests are stupid, those protests are also protecting you from being knelt on for 8 minutes and 46 seconds. Do you know what gaslighting is? Because you said that they manipulated medical terminology to gaslight for political gain. What did they politically gain? Because the media, who you're insinuating by saying it's why we never trust the media, you're insinuating the media is who gaslighted for political gain by manipulating medical terminology. Did you know that you don't have to use any medical terminology to explain that being knelt on for 8 minutes and 46 seconds will kill you? Intoxicants with prior cardiovascular disease. That's crazy. If he died of intoxication, you'd think that the first responders who he was around could have saved him from that overdose, but he didn't overdose. He didn't overdose. Even if he was intoxicated or had prior cardiovascular disease, he didn't overdose or have a heart attack. He was knelt on. 8 minutes and 6 seconds. Lots of Americans have cardiovascular disease, both prior and current. We deserve to not get knelt on by officers who don't know our medical history, which is why maybe they shouldn't be needling on people's necks for 9 minutes. Every day, there are people all over the street who have medical illnesses that might make it unsafe for you to kneel on their necks for 8 minutes and 46 seconds. You realize that it wasn't just George Floyd who was hurt? We all over the country, protested so that this doesn't happen. And it wasn't because we just were bleeding hearts who cared enough about George Floyd. It wasn't because it was messed up. If it was, then people would have stopped as soon as they were directly affected too. Like, they're doing this to us too. They're doing it to everyone. Police brutality, it has racial components. But police brutality affects us all. The unjust incarceration for profit system that we have in this country, where it's incarceration is slavery. It's the 13th Amendment, which deals with slavery, which allows for us to be incarcerated. It is slavery in the event of a crime, which they're profiting from. Corporations own many of our prisons, and they are profiting off of the bodies that they have in their cells. And it's not just black people. It's not just minorities. It's also white people. Did you know that? Hi. My father did 17 years. 17. 17 years. He was arrested for a poverty crime after being the child of a rock star. My father was the child of a very, very famous man. He then was taken away by Child Protective Services at 10 years old when his mother locked him in the trunk of a car, and he was found by the police in that car. He ran away from his group home. And after being the child of somebody very famous, as the radio played his father's music as the number one song for years. My father was homeless as his father's song played on the radio since he was 10. My father grew up on the streets of Detroit since he was 10. He was arrested for the first time when he was 10. He continued to be arrested. He continued to commit poverty crimes because we didn't have the internet like I did, where I was in need of help and poor and asked for it online. My father didn't have that option. You guys believe propaganda still to this day, but especially back then, about the poor and the homeless. They used to have to commit crimes to survive if you were that poor. Like, I don't think you realize that. You still do in a lot of places. Just because I asked for help online and got it doesn't mean that everybody gets that. I had 1 million people trying to act like I was a scam, and I just went live on video and was like, okay, we'll prove it. I'm on live video all the time. My father was arrested for a poverty crime. Writing bad checks. He was writing fraudulent checks. And he was arrested. And then put in a cell with a dangerous person who he had to kill or be raped by. And he chose to kill. My father did 17 years. After being set up and put in a cell with a violent, known to be dangerous criminal. Police brutality, abolition. These are national issues that don't affect a singular race. White people are the second intended target of white supremacy. We're affected too. This is everybody, including your rights. Everybody who protested because you think that we just were manipulated by the media, when actually the media didn't have our backs. The media didn't want us to protest. The media vilified us for protesting because we didn't want them to be trained to kneel on our necks for 9 minutes. You might be intoxicated sometimes. Do you ever go to a bar? Do you think that means that an officer can just kneel on your neck for 9 minutes? And it's okay, because you were intoxicated. What's wrong with you? It wasn't the media. It was Darnella Frazier, who won a Pulitzer Prize for recording that. You're welcome.